Welcome to Mastering Aging Gracefully, a podcast dedicated to elevating the way we care for ourselves and our loved ones as they age. We will bring you the best of the best experts in the senior care industry, heartfelt stories, real experiences, and meaningful solutions that truly matter. This is your go-to resource for navigating the journey of aging with intention, compassion, and connection. Together, we'll explore better health practices, stronger support systems, and a future where your family can feel safe and cared for. Join us as we learn, grow, and embrace aging gracefully. Well, I'm so excited to be here. This is my first podcast with Jonathan Shaw. Super honored to have him here. I've been really impressed over the years with his work and his integrity. And so Jonathan Shaw, Marine veteran, right?
Yep.
And got in the senior space over a decade ago.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Correct. Yep.
And so he's been placing seniors in assisted living homes. But what I am intrigued with and excited about talking to him today is his level of innovation, always thinking outside the box about the bigger picture, like what seniors need from your placing seniors. You have like a program, a kind of algorithm that you use.
Yeah,
within
we've
the
got
market.
a whole system that my wife developed for this entire industry. So we're able to really cut down on the time that it takes to find places, find the most appropriate, affordable options, and then take families out and be with them throughout the entire process. So I got into all of this because I was an insurance agent and I was getting sent out every single weekend. And I would go to these families and I would sit with them and look at their policies. And I'd have to break the news that I'm sorry, son, who's put up $30,000 for the last 5 months. This policy does not pay. You guys are in a 5-bedroom home and it says 11 or more beds. And so I was having to do that over and over again. And it was a pretty awful feeling, to be honest.
To give them the realization that all their hard work couldn't really add up to much, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so friends of mine were opening assisted living homes. So I just kind of fell into this. They were opening assisted living homes. They asked me if I wanted to join. I said, absolutely. I'm not a fan of insurance right now.
Right.
So I joined them. And then the first thing they said is, oh, well, we're building homes. You're going to do a placement company. And I was like, well, what is a placement company? And so then I started learning. And from being on the home side, I developed a process that took from the insurance industry, the discovery process. And that's how I got to know what these clients actually need and what the homes need to know for us to properly move them in.
Okay.
And so that was our big way of getting into this industry and how I started doing all this.
And so from your experience, you're hearing like what families are looking for and what they really are, their goal is for the future. I mean, because we're talking about the last decade of life, right? Most of the time, maybe even a half decade. And so in your experience, what was it? Because I know you educate on that now. So what is it that families are looking for and what are you educating the homes on? What sets them apart?
Okay. So I have an entire sales course that I have created because all of these homes, they're run by nurses. They're run by caregivers, CNAs, and that's their background, and managers. None of these people have sales skills. So they started doing these things and they have tours coming in, but they don't know how to close them properly. And so I started running a course on how to do that, how to convert tours to move-ins. And so we use some of the basic sales skills that I learned through insurance to help them be a better resource for families and how they show their homes.
And differentiate themselves, right?
Absolutely. It's all about creating a unique offering.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way that I've done that is I walk into homes and what we're looking for is something to talk to families about that's different. And so when I see your banners sitting in these homes, the first thing I say is, oh, look, there's Living Gracefully coming in here. What that means is that they're reinvesting in the independence of their residents. Most of these people are going in there with the hope that they can go home one day. And so if we say, hey, this is a stepping stone back to your independence, and then have actually a physical therapist-owned company that does these exercises with them, it gives them hope. And
Absolutely.
That's a big thing.
Absolutely. And we see that too. Trying to get home is a big goal. And they want that hope, absolutely, that we can get them to the place that they feel comfortable and we can get them home. And sometimes that works out and sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
But to have that, what are the other things besides, we know motion, right, is very important and getting them moving in these homes to differentiate themselves. But what else is there besides that?
When you guys are doing these exercises, I tell everybody, it's not militant because a lot of them don't want to do the therapy when they're in the skilled nursing facilities.
Well, they didn't come from that generation.
Right.
None of them were working out typically when they were younger, even, especially the women, right?
Well, they're the kind of generation that shoots themselves in the foot and walks a mile and doesn't complain.
Right.
Whereas the younger generations are going to be immediately complaining or immediately needing assistance. And so they try to hide a lot of these things. And I hear, oh, I'll be able to do that when I get home.
Yes.
I can transfer myself when I get home. And they've got a spouse who's the same age and they can't take care of them.
Right.
And so it seems to be, it's a big problem. And so when we get them into those facilities and they have the unique offerings of something like what you offer, it really does make a huge difference.
Well, and it's definitely a hard time of life, right? No one's looking forward to coming out of their home they may have been in for 30 years, going into an assisted living community, and especially a residential care home. The level of independence is lower. They see people around them aging. And so I think giving these services that give them energy and excitement and that someone's willing to come in, spend an hour of undivided time is so very important.
Right.
So how do you tell the homeowners, how do they communicate that? You know, we see the banner up in the homes, we know we're coming in, but if you were a homeowner, how would you sell that or market that when you have a tour?
So there's a couple mistakes that homes make. And one of them is what I call feature dumping. And so they'll start listing off a whole bunch of things that they have, but they don't match it up to what the client's needs are. So if they've got somebody who's bedbound and they're talking about your services, it's not necessarily something that the family really cares about. And so they have to find that connection. And the way that I teach them to do that is through features and benefits. Features is what it is. Okay. Benefits is how it actually benefits the resident and the person moving in. So if they've got a 10-bedroom home and we talk about the fact that that's the same, that it's directed care level and that's the same level as memory cares, we're talking about the fact that in memory cares, the caregiver to resident ratio may be 1 to 12, 1 to 13.
Right.
Maybe a little less in a place that you're paying a lot more. So we talked about the fact that memory cares have this caregiver to resident ratio, but when you come into this home, it's 2 caregivers on during the day and 1 at night. And that's a 1 to 5 ratio versus a 1 to 12, 1 to 13.
Right.
And so it really helps the families understand that they're going to get the intimate care that they're really looking for in these situations.
That's great. That is so great. And what else? What else besides the movement and fitness that they could be looking for that would set a home apart?
Just other activities that they have coming in.
Yep.
It's really about keeping them engaged.
Yep.
So I like to see raised garden beds.
I love that
if there's
too.
A lot of women in the facility or the home that care about gardening. And it's really about keeping independence. So there's homes that'll tell somebody who's got more independence, hey, you can still do some laundry with us. We'll let you wash dishes if that's what you really want to do, or fold towels or fold clothes.
I do love that. I love that because also finding out what the person did in their life before their career, right?
Right.
I know my grandfather, I call him a tinkerer because he would go out in the garage every day. Even when he was retired, he owned a junkyard and a tow truck, and that was his career. But every day, even after he was retired, he had the tools and everything in his garage, and he would be putting something together, tearing something down. And so people like that, tinkerers of the world, they need something to do.
Well, it gives them purpose.
That's right. Totally.
That's the real thing, is it gives them purpose back in their life. Because a lot of them are just saying, well, there goes my independence.
Right.
Now I'm just stuck in a home. I'm stuck in a place. And so many of them need education about what it is, because all they see on the news is the bad situations.
Yep.
And then they hear from Sally's sisters, cousins, best friend, that they were in a facility and it was absolutely awful.
Horrible. Like the
Right.
worst stories get to the surface, right?
You know, I always had that saying, if I do a bad job, you know, you'll tell 10 people. If I do a good job, you'll tell
No,
one.
yeah,
And
exactly.
so that's, you know, same kind of
Yep.
situation.
Absolutely. No, I think it's so critical that the homeowners are equipped. And that's also why we put the banners up and the different materials, is they're equipped with the things that make them look good, you know, make
Right.
them stand out, state licensed quality providers and things like that, which I know you're a big proponent of. So
Right. And it shows reinvestment into the independence of the residents. And that's what I always tell people when I see that banner.
that's right.
It's important because nobody wants to chicken wing and march their legs. They want fun activities
That's right.
that are designed around what movement they need and the
Functional
acuity
movement.
level of that group home or that community.
Well, and the other thing that, you know, we talk about a lot is making sure that the caregivers don't have the burden of care, right? That's why the functional piece is so important. So
Right.
helping out the caregivers in that level of care. But that's what I love about you, is you're always innovative around clinical too.
Right.
And that's what we do fitness classes, sure, and we do, but the PT base is the clinical piece
Mhm.
and the highest quality. And that's what you have developed actually and started coming to market, the
Right.
labs,
Yes.
which I think are so
Yes,
intriguing. So
yes.
tell us about the labs,
Okay.
because I love it so much. There's two components to the labs, the diagnosis piece and the med management piece, if I
Correct.
understand
Yes,
correctly.
yes.
So tell us.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
So here's the thing. I came into this and I really love my clients. I look at every single one of them like they're my own mother or father. So whatever I would do for my parents is something that I'm going to do for them. So I
Perfect.
won't show them a place that I wouldn't put my parents in. And so in doing this, I see people get discharged with medication lists that are 2-3 pages long, 20 medications. They're on 15 of them to handle the side effects from the first 5 they were on.
Right.
And so what I did was I looked for a lab service company that can do what they call pharmacogenetic testing. And what that does is it looks at how the body metabolizes medications. And so is it metabolizing too slow and we're building up toxicity, or too fast and it's just running through the body without, you know, getting any benefit, or there's lack of efficacy. And so when we're doing this, we're looking at all of the different categories of medication, from cardiology meds all the way down to psychiatric and pain medication.
Okay.
And it's helping us to go from 20 meds, you know, down to 5. So
good.
we got, you know, 20 and then all the way down to that 5 medications that actually need. And the homeowners appreciate it because it's less
Yes.
mistakes that their caregivers can make.
Absolutely. And you know, I came from a long hospice background. And one of the things in hospice, reducing those medications, they reduce the medications a lot, which allows people to perk up. Like all of a sudden on hospice, you'll see someone completely perk up.
Right.
And it's because they've reduced all these
Right.
these medications that all have side effects, and they work together weirdly, right? And so then you have drowsiness, and the terms, they get snowed, right?
That's the big problem.
That is the big problem.
That's the big
And
problem
so-
that families are so scared of when I talk to them, is about meds and the need for them. If their loved one has, you know, dementia with behaviors, it's important that we have medications that can manage that.
Yep.
And it's also important that we're not guessing.
That's
Because
right.
these homeowners cannot wait for the fail first method that we've developed in this, you know, in this culture. They can't wait for that. They need the right med at the right time. And so this test helps to figure out what those meds are.
I love it so much, because even when you talk about things that help reduce behaviors that they're having, like Ativan, some people have
Right.
adverse reactions where they act even the behaviors increase somewhat. And so I think, to your point, they have to, in the past, they've had to run through these medications, test it. In the meantime, maybe a behavior goes up, they fall, all these
Right.
other, things happen that make them even more of a risk and a fall risk and all the
Right.
things. And so having an actual, do they do this with like DNA? Like is this?
Yeah, what it is
blood
the
work?
cheek swab, just like
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's called a buccal swab. So we
Yep.
swab the cheeks 10 times on each side. It goes off to the lab, and within 14 days, we've got response back.
So great.
With the pharmacogenetic one that we do, it comes with a really simple report for the doctors to read. We also do other genetic testing around neurocognitive or cardiopulmonary, to which we actually have genetic counselors that will talk to them after we get these results back. But I want to go back real quick to something you said.
Yep.
When it comes to adverse drug reactions with medications, we're losing 100,000 people a year due to that.
Oh my gosh.
Which is a crazy number.
That's a crazy number.
And these tests are supposed to be ran on these medications. And there's over 200 medications that have it on the box that this is the type of test that should be ran before we're giving it. And yet we're still utilizing this fail first method rather than precision medication and precision care.
Well, and let's be honest too, a lot of these people come in these assisted living homes from their home where they've been mismanaging the medications in the first place.
Right.
And so then you've got that on top of it where their drugs are all wonky in their system already. And then the poor homeowner or the nurse that's in charge is trying to figure it all out.
Right.
So this could so would you recommend a baseline test right when they come in the home?
There's got to be medical necessity, which means polypharmacy, and most of these people are on more than one med.
Right.
So the doctor would have to evaluate, and when they determine, yes, there's medical necessity, then they can run the test.
Okay.
All
Wonderful.
right.
And is it just a matter of like calling you?
Yeah.
Getting it in the home?
Yeah.
I mean, is it easy like that?
Yeah. So in the beginning, to start off with each location, we'll come out, we'll do the buccal swabs, we'll teach them how to do it.
Okay.
And then they'll be able to do that on their own after a few examples of doing that and trainings, and then they'll send it off themselves.
Okay.
We don't want to hold things up because we're on the other side of the valley and whatnot.
Sure. Okay.
And it allows us to also do UTI testing and diaper swabs. So we're able to do things on the people that are heavy and bedbound, and just do a diaper swab on UTIs, and to be able to get that culture back. So it's not just you have a UTI, let's take some meds. It's here is the strain of UTI that you have, and here are the exact meds that we should be taking.
The exact antibiotic we're looking for, which usually takes several days to get back, right? It doesn't usually take several days.
We're at 48 hours right now.
Okay.
With the plans of hopefully partnering with one of the laboratories here in Arizona to get us down to 24-hour turnaround time.
Oh, that's great. Oh my gosh, what a lifesaver that'll be.
Right.
So amazing. So tell me about the other test that is telling people if they're at risk or they have the genetic predisposition for Alzheimer's, ALS, Parkinson's, which is a little scary. I have to admit, the last time we talked, I was like, I don't want to know if I'm going to get ALS, right? Like it's a scary. So, okay, first of all, how does that work? And second of all, who do you recommend it for? Like I'm thinking 55-year-olds, prior to the end of life.
Right. The big thing right now is about making lifestyle changes. Everybody's super health conscious these days. So our neurocognitive panel will test for exactly what you said, and it's the same kind of swab.
Okay.
It goes off, and then we get the results back, and then they get genetic counseling with that. Okay. So yes, it is about
so nice about the counseling, right?
Yes.
Because if you get a bad reading, well, meaning you find out like I have a predisposition for this, you're going to need someone. To really talk you through it.
And the doctors don't really have the time to go through and read these genetic tests and then research what each gene that's been identified is going to cause.
Yes.
So that so the genetic counseling is a big deal.
Okay.
And who do we recommend it on? Anybody who's showing the signs and symptoms of dementia, Parkinson's, ALS, Alzheimer's. So if they're forgetful, if they're confused.
So what about before all that? Like you and I.
What was that?
What about before all that? You and I. Like what about people that don't have any symptoms? Because that would be telling.
So one of the I think it was Chris Hemsworth, the actor, his mother got dementia.
Okay.
So he immediately did a genetic test to see if he had it. And sure enough, he has one of the genes that contributes to the possibility of dementia.
Okay.
So he started making lifestyle changes right now. And that's the big thing that we're able to do. So when we've got somebody with Alzheimer's or dementia already, the purpose of that test, aside from identifying the genes for them and targeting better medications, the idea is that we can talk to the younger generation and say, hey, you guys need to look at these tests as well. Everything that we do is Medicare, aged and up, or they can private pay for the test, which I would pay quite a bit.
I would
to
too,
know.
probably, yes. Well,
Even
if
though
I
I would be
wanted to
scared.
know.
Yeah.
If I
Even though
wanted to know, I'm still processing that.
My sister got one of these tests done, and she's been on top of me about doing it. And I told her, I don't want to know if I've got any problems.
I know.
I really don't.
Well, it's that fine line of like, I want to know, but like,
right.
Because if there's something, you know, it depends on the disease, right? Because there's some, like probably with dementia and Alzheimer's, there may be some, you know, we have Prevagen these days, and we have cognitive tests you can take to try to keep your mind active and sharp. But like when it comes to ALS, there's just not a lot of preventative things.
No, that's
even
the scary
Parkinson's. You can do a lot of rotational exercise, cycling, all the things that like, you know, can combat rigidity. But ALS, what is there?
There's nothing.
And so that's what I'm scared about. If we could take ALS out of there, I might be willing to do it. But yeah, it's scary. No matter what. But it's such an amazing. So what is the percentage rate of what am I trying to say? Like the efficacy of it. Like what percentage with certainty can you tell that it's effective? Like
I can't give you a percentage,
okay.
But I can tell you that it is very high efficacy on what we do.
Okay.
These guys have been doing this for 15 years now, and now genetic testing is the big thing that everybody's looking at when this has actually been around for a while. The tests are getting better. They're getting more, I guess, more efficacy, for lack of a better term than I can think of. And so it's really more accurate.
Yeah.
Right. The big thing is being able to have the next generation make those lifestyle changes now rather than waiting until it's a big problem in the future.
Right. Yeah. And maybe it'll help us come to terms with like some other options, like some other research options that help us combat some of these really
So
detrimental diseases.
If you looked at our cardiopulmonary panel, there's something called familial hypocholesteremia. Okay. And there's specific drugs that have to treat that, one of them being Repatha. And so Medicare looks at that drug and it's a specialty drug, and they say, well, I don't want to cover that. Give me prior authorizations and do the step therapies on all of these other medications to see if it works first. Well, if you run that genetic test and it comes back with that as a gene that they're predisposed to that condition, they're able to get, Medicare covers the drug.
Perfect.
So if they switch from one Part D plan to another, or one Advantage plan to another, when it's open enrollment, they don't have to worry about whether or not that drug is going to be covered again. And so a lot of what's on the cardiopulmonary panel are things that can kill you. Yep. They may not show up until later on in life, but they're autosomal dominant. So what that means is if the person has it, their child is a 50% chance of getting that same thing. So it's scary. And so these are things that we should be doing. It's not a, you should do it. It's a, why are you not doing this already?
Absolutely.
Is really the way we look at these testing, especially the pharmacogenetic, because the amount of medications people are on is absolutely wild.
Oh, it's wild. And talk about pharmacy cost, right? We talk a lot about like the cost of medicines and things. So I love this conversation. We are about to be finished with the episode. We're going to have a part 2. I really think so, because there's a lot more to discuss here. But
I agree.
I thank you so much for being on.
Of course. Thank you for bringing me.
Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Absolutely.